Hadrian was a very important figure in not only in religious history but in European history. If you know your history, there's a place in Europe called Hadrian's Wall. It broke off the border from England to Scotland because the Scots were rebellious against the Roman invasions. So Hadrian built a wall and minimized his conquering of territories with that wall. It's called Hadrian's Wall. It's really famous. But why Hadrian is important to this specific topic is because in 130, Hadrian visited Egypt. And he's noted in this famous letter, Hadrian's letter, when he got to Egypt, he realized that the worshippers of Serapis, which he also worshipped, in Egypt, they were called Christians, and the bishops of Serapis were called the bishops of Christ. Now, some people say, I've heard some scholars say that the emperor's Hadrian's letter is a forgery because of some things that were mentioned couldn't have taken place during the time frame that Hadrian's letter claimed they had the time frame, but that is irrelevant to the aspects of the letter that mention Serapis followers being called Christians. Even a forger would have no reason to mention that Serapis followers in Egypt were called Christians, except that they were, and we know that they were from history. That we know that the Khrestos was a term for the Anointed One, and we know that in Egypt they followed Serapis up until, like I told you, in 391. So a lot of this history is not known to people, and because it's not known, we assume a lot. But I can say that you can't safely assume all the things that you are taught in your Western academic classes, nor in your Western theology, because a lot of the aspects were specifically and deliberately hidden from that theology, so you wouldn't know about it. So, and one more thing about Hadrian, the building of that wall was such an astronomical undertaking that a lot of Romans were shipped to or were stationed in Europe during that time frame. So a lot of the Europeans that we know, a lot of their blood is actually Roman blood, and a lot of people don't know those aspects of European history at all. So I put these things out so that you can get a clear understanding of some of the theology and the history. Now, am I saying that Christian Nicene followers did not exist and Jesus did not exist? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's peculiar that a lot of the aspects of Christianity come from previous religions that were termed pagan after the Council of Nicaea. And actually, after the Council of Nicaea in, I think it was 391, from 389, I believe it was, from 389 to 391, Christians under Theodosius went to Egypt and destroyed the Serapeum. So from 391 is when the Egyptians stopped worshiping Serapis the Christ, and by edict of Rome began worshiping Jesus, Jesus the Christ, not Serapis the Christ. And of course, from the name Jesus today, because of the letter J, we now call that deity Jesus. So it's important that you have a belief system for most people. It's important that you have a spirituality, and I understand that. But what I'm trying to communicate to you is that if you don't know the history of what you're believing, then you're going to suffer the consequences of ignorance, and that's just a sad reality. And it takes a lot to swallow that. And I recommend it if you can't swallow it, if you just totally disagree with it, then I think you're being dishonest. But if you really want to be honest and understand your history, then I think you owe it to yourself to do some research. And the particular area of research I think you should start with, because nobody else is giving you this information in this detail, I think you should start with Serapis. This is your boy Key, your friendly historian, giving you some information on Serapis. I hope that you found this information useful. I'll put a couple of links in the in my page as well, in my YouTube page, so that you can look up aspects of this and find out more details of the history of Serapis. Thanks again for listening. Be sure to subscribe and hit that like button if you like what you heard. And if you have some comments or disagreements, please put them in the comment section, and I'll overlook them and we can discuss them. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.